So Jayne Ellegard is the founder and coach of Elegant Wealth. She empowers women who are ready to show up and own their financial journey with courage, confidence, and wisdom. Jayne left the corporate world after 34 years in investments and wealth management with the goal of making a difference in as many women's lives as possible. Her 6 pillars of financial empowerment offers you a unique, creative, and fun, and yes, I can attest to, absolutely fun way to inspire financial confidence. She equips women with the clarity and motivation to take action, change their financial reality, as well as achieve their goals. So what you will find today is that Jayne is redefining wealth education in a way that works for women. You'll feel, even through doing this via Zoom, you'll have a personal relationship with her. And I will just say that although I have been a financial advisor to high net worth clients in the past, I went through so many different types of financial decisions last year that I could have not possibly gone through with Jayne with the confidence that I really needed to have. So I'd like to share that with you by handing over the microphone to Jayne.
Thank you, Paula. And I'm going to share my screen here. And we will jump right in. Do you have a love-hate relationship with money? On the love side, money's a lot of fun. It's fun to spend. It's fun to buy things that you enjoy. It represents financial freedom, financial stability, flexibility, peace of mind. But on the other hand, there's paying the bills, and there's budgeting, and the complexity that comes with money, and fear of becoming a bag lady. What if you run out? Or what if you don't have enough right now? So there's a lot of love-hate relationships going on with money. And we're going to do just a quick poll right off the start here. I have to stop sharing to do that. Do a quick poll, and I just want to hear, how are you feeling about money today? Are you loving it, or is it driving you crazy? So go ahead and answer the poll. We'll see what people are feeling right now about money. So it looks like driving you crazy is starting to win here.
Yeah.
No surprise with everything that we've been through in the last 6 months or so. A lot of people have felt it challenging from time to time with everything that's been going on. All right, so we'll end it there and share the results. So it looks like 65% of you, it's driving you crazy, but 35% are loving it. So that's, we'll talk through some of that as we continue through here. All right, let's get back to our presentation. So I want to share a story about Jill. She's a litigation attorney, and she shared this. She said, "My knowledge around money is so low. I don't speak the speak. It's all Greek to me, so I disengage. I know I can and should be able to understand it. I know I need to understand it. My lack of knowledge in this area doesn't fit with the image I have of myself as a smart, confident woman." Can you relate to what Jill's saying? I hear from so many women that they find dealing with their financial situation frustrating, intimidating, or boring. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be fun, and that's really my mission with Elegant Wealth, is to make money fun. So today our conversation is we're going to take a deep dive into your money values and beliefs. And I think it's really important to understand where your money values and beliefs come from. And as women, I think we're often so busy taking care of everybody else and checking the to-dos off of our task list that we don't often take the time to give ourselves space to think about, something like, where do our money values and beliefs come from? And yet, we all have to have a relationship with money. You're dealing with it every single day, whether you're buying groceries, you're getting gas, you're buying a house, you're buying a car. Every single day, you're dealing with money. And so we have to have a positive relationship with it. And I don't often see that for women. So that's a big part of what we're going to be talking about here today. Let's gain some clarity and let's start a new relationship on a positive footing with money. Sound good? All right. So at the end of today's webinar, you will receive a 3-step guide to shifting your money mindset. And if you stay with me to the end, there'll be a special bonus, a financial wellness quiz. I know I love taking quizzes, so hopefully you'll stick around and get the quiz as well. So Paula gave a beautiful introduction. I wanted to share just a couple more things about my background. I have my MBA, I'm a certified financial planner. I'm a certified career coach, and I am a results-based trained coach through the Neuro Leadership Institute. It's all brain-based, and it's just absolutely fascinating. And after 34 years in wealth management and working with so many women and families and couples, I just saw that there was a gap in the education that women have received. And it's not our fault. It's just that nobody's really taught us this. And I really wanted to bring together all of the coaching, that I was learning about and the financial expertise that I bring to the table, combine all of that and really make a difference in women's financial lives. Just a little bit about me personally. Love spending time at the cabin with my family. And my husband and I, Nathan, we just celebrated 29 years of marriage on Monday. So very excited about that. He's a wonderful man. Thank you. And our son Tyler and his wife Steph and our grand dog Oakley live about 10 minutes away from us. And Oakley enjoys being at the cabin with us as well and spending a little time on the paddleboard with me. So as Paula said, my mission is empowering women to show up and own their financial journey with courage, confidence, and wisdom. 8 out of 10 women will end up on this journey alone. Whether you never marry, you're divorced, or you're widowed. 8 out of 10. So chances are you will, at some point, have to take responsibility for your financial situation. What I want for you is to be able to have the courage to be proactive and get in front of that significant life event that could happen. I want you to have the confidence to take ownership and get involved in the discussions that are happening today about your financial future. And I want you to have the wisdom to make a difference. If you don't understand your financial situation, you probably aren't having the conversations with your parents, your children, your spouse that you could or should be having. So if not for you, do this for them. So I've created the 6 pillars to financial empowerment, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. But pillar 1, oops, sorry about that, letting somebody in. Pillar 1 is all about exploring your money values and beliefs. And I call that marry a rich man. And it's in quotes because that is what my dad told me over and over again growing up. He would say, marry a rich man. It's just as easy to fall in love with a rich man as it is a poor man. His second words of wisdom, he was full of little nuggets, was go into sales. There's money to be had in sales. The message was clear. Money was good. Money would make my life better. You may have heard something similar, or you may have heard the exact opposite. You may have heard money is bad, rich people are greedy, or evil even. Whatever message you heard growing up, it's deeply embedded, and you're making decisions today based on those money values and beliefs that you heard growing up. Money intertwines with every aspect of your life. Have you ever had a fight with a loved one over money? You know, most people have, right? Money's very emotional. It impacts your career. If, like me, you heard money is good, you might be striving for that next promotion. You might be trying to make more money. But if you heard money is bad, you could be sabotaging that next promotion opportunity without even realizing why. But if you start making more money than everybody else in your family, you could be ostracized. So we all need to understand this money thing, right? Because it impacts us. And it's unique to you. I mean, I look at my own family. I mean, you know, my siblings, maybe they heard different messages. You know, it depends on where you were in the family lineup, how much, you know, what the financial situation was when you were, you know, reaching a point where this was starting to sink in and you were starting to understand a little bit more about money. So it's very unique to you. One of the things I've done is I've created exercises for each pillar. And one of the exercises that I have the women do is called My Family Tree. And so I'd love for you to take a minute and draw your family tree. So put you at the center, your parents, your grandparents, any children or grandchildren. And if you're married, put your spouse off to the side. And think about, what are the money values and beliefs you remember hearing from your grandparents to your parents to you? And how are they maybe impacting you today? What are the things that you remember, like marry a rich man and go into sales? So I'd love to have you put in the chat, if you know how to use the chat, maybe put in the chat, you know, something that stands out to you or is a fun memory, or maybe a not so fun memory. So just go ahead and see what comes to mind, and Paula, if we have anything in the chat, you're on mute right now, so just so you know. If you see anything popping up there.
I'm back. Yes, quite a few. My dad was a spender and my mom a saver. Conflict all around.
Absolutely. I've heard that quite often. There's often mixed messages.
My dad reminded me every day the importance of financial independence for women. He said, women who don't make money don't get respect.
Oh, I love that. That's
Now,
fantastic.
Basically, my mom would buy what she needed. Money is bad and rich people are greedy, which means I had lots of guilt about my success and big fat paychecks.
Yes, yes, you would. Absolutely.
Having no more than 2.5% of annual salary for home purchase.
Wow.
If I might just interject, I remember my grandma always asking my grandpa for money. She would walk up to him and call him Dad. May I have some money to go get the groceries today?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Very dependent, yes. Hopefully we're moving away from that. I hope that's not happening anymore.
My mom was reckless. My dad responsible.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing. I think, again, I just think it's one of those things that we don't stop and think about. I had one of the women that went through the program, she shared that her mother's parents had been wealthy and then they lost all of their money. And as a result, her mother was very, very frugal, very scared about money, very afraid of losing it. And so this woman said, she said, I went the exact opposite. So she said, I hated that she was so frugal and focused on money all the time. So she said, I was very free with money. If I got it, I spent it. I didn't save it. And when her mother passed away and she inherited this money that her mother had so carefully saved, she wanted to be a good steward. And so she went through the class so that she could learn more about money, because she really up to that point hadn't taken the time. And so I thought that was just a really wonderful testament to how she had was trying to turn things around. The other thing that I do is I encourage the women who are married to now take this exercise and do it with their spouse. A lot of tension in marriages can come from money, as many of you may know, and it's one of the top reasons for divorce. And so trying to have a conversation around money and understand why you're coming at money so differently, I think is really productive, and doing it at a time when you're not fighting about money, but when you can talk about it very calmly and, just really learn from one another. I had one woman share, she said, I always thought my husband and I had been raised very differently with regards to money. She said, but when we actually sat down and did this exercise and talked about it, we discovered that they may have come at it slightly differently, but yet the underlying values were actually quite similar. So you might be surprised by what you might find from that discussion. And then thinking about, what are the money values that you're passing down to your children, and are they the money values that you want to pass down? We talk a lot about legacy in the class, and legacy is so much more than money. It's more than, what are you going to leave behind when you die? And so we talk a lot about legacy being the money values and beliefs that you're carrying and that you are bringing to your family. And so that's something else to consider as you think about, what are the money values and beliefs that you want to be working on. And if they aren't, how can you change them? What can you do differently? And I think that's looking at the money mindset and, looking at some of the limiting beliefs that you might be carrying around. One of the women, June, just shared with me, we had a reunion. So we typically have a reunion about 3 to 6 months after we've completed the program, where we come back together to share how things have been going on our new money journey. And last week we had a reunion, and June shared, she said, Jayne, she said, I expected when I took the program to learn more about investments. I thought I would probably learn how to manage my money better. But she said, one of the outcomes that really took me by surprise was I really figured out how to believe in myself. She said, I've had my own business for 12 years and I've never raised my prices. And she said it was because I didn't value my services and what I was doing for people. And she said, after going through your class and not only hearing from you how to change my money mindset, but also just the other women and the belief that they had in me encouraged me to go and increase my prices for the first time. And she said, most of my clients said, it's about time. And I mean, what an amazing story. I mean, so there's so many different things that can come from figuring out what those limiting beliefs are that are holding you back, acknowledging them, and then making shifts. One of the other exercises that I have the women do in Pillar 1 is called the roles we play. And again, I think as women, we do so many things for so many people, and we don't always even give ourselves a pat on the back for everything that we're up to. And so I have the women list all the different hats that they wear. So I've got a few listed here. Some of the others might be, employee, business owner, friend, volunteer, but I have them list these all out. And then I have them pick maybe the top 2 or 3 that probably have the most meaning to them. And I want them to consider the emotional implications and the financial implications. So for example, being a business owner. Being a business owner, the emotional implications, well, it's scary, right? There's a lot of fear at times, but it's also incredibly exciting, and you have so much more control over your destiny than you ever had before. But there's a lot of financial implications. You know, one of the terms my brother used way back that I'll never forget is he said he was experiencing some negative cash flow. And I think, you know, when you have your own business, you definitely, at least I have, experienced a little bit of that. So, but you're doing it because you're hoping that in the future you're going to be able to make more and have freedom and flexibility. And so there's both emotional and financial implications, positive and negative, to playing that role or wearing that hat. And so again, it's one that I just would encourage you to stop and spend a little bit of time and appreciate all the things that you do for other people. So the 6 pillars to financial empowerment, we talked about pillar 1. And I really created this. So this is my version of what I believe women should know and understand about their financial situation. And the women that I've worked with have complex financial situations. They have simple financial situations. So I don't think it really matters where you're at on the spectrum. You should have some sort of a plan or a map, a roadmap of how to handle everything. And so I created this, and I've asked some of the women, you know, should I get rid of some of these pillars, or what do you think? And resoundingly, they've said, no, they each build on each other. So you need to keep them all. So pillar 1 we've talked about. Pillar 2 is what's your destination? And that's really looking at your financial goals. What is it that you want to achieve? And I think that's just incredibly important. And, you know, neuroscience suggests that a different part of the brain lights up when you write down your goals. And so I just really encourage people to write those down and really understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. As we go through the rest of the pillars, we look through everything through the lens of those values and those goals that you're bringing to the table. So again, very unique to you, but that's how you're looking at it. And I want you to continue to tie everything back to those values and goals. Pillar 3, I call planes, trains, and automobiles. And this is really about your starting point. So when you book a flight to go to your favorite destination, which hopefully we'll be able to do again at some point in time, I'm sure we will, you need to know your starting point and your destination. And the starting point in financial terms is your net worth. And having a very clear understanding and awareness around what that is, you really need to have that to start moving forward. So you need to know where you are today, and that is your net worth. And that's looking at your assets, the things that you own, and your liabilities, the things, the amount of money that you owe to others. And so understanding that net worth is important. And I call it planes, trains, and automobiles because, you know, if you can do it in a direct flight, get from your starting point to your destination, your financial goals, good for you. But for most of us, it's a bit more of a journey, and you might need a bicycle and a kayak thrown in as well. So, you know, it's different for each one of us. Pillar 4, I always like to say I don't like the B word, budget. To me, budget, it seems so punishing, right? It's kind of like diet. I mean, I don't really want to go on a diet, and I definitely don't want to stick with a diet. And I feel the same way about a budget. So I try not to use that word because I just really don't like it. So we go off of the terms treasures, promises, and fun when we're looking at spending. And treasures is all about tomorrow's treasures. What are you saving for the future? Your past promises. What have you already committed to? So, you know, your mortgage, your car payment, your utilities, and then whatever's left over is for today's fun. So I just like that a lot better than budget. And again, part of what I'm trying to do here is make it a little bit more female friendly, not dumbed down because you're smart. And I know you can get this, but I want you to enjoy it. And so hopefully Treasures, Promises, and Fun makes it a little bit more enjoyable. And then pillar 5 is the perfect outfit. And this is all about investments. And I have a really fun analogy. It's kind of hard to share here, but it's a fun analogy about getting dressed, and you know, your top is your stocks and your bottoms are your bonds that cover your butt portion of your portfolio. Your purse is where you carry your cash. Your real estate is your shoes, a high rise or a flat, and then commodities, gold, silver, is your jewelry. And so we have a lot of fun with that. And just again, I'm not trying to dumb it down or be condescending. I'm really just trying to help you connect the dots so that when you sit down with your advisor, you're understanding what they're talking about. And so you can create a picture in your mind of what they're talking about. And then pillar 6, I call giving the best gifts. And this is about wealth protection. And insurance and estate planning are a really important component of your overall financial situation. And you should really understand how to protect yourself on both of those fronts. So one of the questions that I get a lot is, are you a financial advisor planner, or do you replace my financial advisor planner? And the answer is no, I do not. I was a financial advisor, and when I sat in that seat, I couldn't educate women the way that I wanted to. I couldn't create a curriculum like this. Compliance wouldn't have allowed it. I couldn't spend the time that I think it takes to really understand all the basic fundamentals that you should understand so that you really can get your arms around your financial situation. So when you're meeting with a financial advisor, you know, 1, 2, 3 times a year for an hour or two, you know, I would try to fit in, you know, some education as we were going through, you know, the conversation, but it certainly couldn't be to the extent that I can do here. And so what I really want is for you to be engaged with your advisor or planner around your financial situation. And when you understand the concepts, that conversation is going to be that much better. So meet Mary. Mary is a pediatrician. She's married to Mark. They have 2 beautiful daughters. And Mary loves to run. She enjoys cooking. Honestly, I think she enjoys everything other than finances. And she's delegated the financial decision-making to Mark and their financial advisor. And then Mark dies of a heart attack. And Mary's thrown into a very scary situation. She doesn't really understand if they can afford to stay in their home. She doesn't know what this means to her daughter's education. She doesn't know what it means to her retirement. I don't want that for any of you. I want you to learn about this before something like that happens. So meet Sally. Sally is married to Steve, and they have 2 beautiful kids. And Sally is very creative, and she's a partner in a marketing firm. And she says, I don't do math. And she says, my husband drags me to the meetings with the advisor. I glaze over, and I'm thinking about all the projects I'd rather be working on right now. But she decides to go through the program. And when we come back for our reunion meeting, she shares this. She said, we met with our advisor. And she said, and I sat up straight and I asked questions with confidence. And when he talked about something I didn't understand, I asked questions. It was by far the best meeting we've ever had with our advisor. And then we got home. And Steve turned to me and said, I finally feel like we are financial partners. She said, I didn't even realize he felt that way. So let's see, I don't know if Brett or, but JC is on. JC, would you mind unmuting? And JC has gone through the program, so I'd love to have a testimonial from a live person. Hey, JC.
Hey everybody, I'm J.C. Fogelberg and I am sitting here taking lots of notes even though I have been through the cohort, which I absolutely loved. I am a high net worth wealth advisor and I'm blessed to I have Marys, I have Sallys, I have divorcees, I have widowers. I also have men and families that are more traditional. But what I'm trying to say is I know a lot about this stuff. However, I learned so much from the cohort. I can't express enough how worth your time it is, because if it's worth my time, who already knows all this stuff, plus I'm already practicing this, it's tremendous, either, as an advisor or as a user. I just was writing, anyway, I could go on and on and on. Treasures, promises, and fun. What a great way to talk about budgets. And I was in a meeting last Friday and I sure as heck should have gotten that on the table instead of, well, you gotta know your cash flow, you gotta know your budget. And they're like, oh. Anyway, I highly encourage all of you to take the next step with Jayne. You will not regret it.
Oh, thank you, JC. All right, so Financial Wellness for Women is rolling out October 1st. And, your financial situation is never going away, ever. So I just really learn about it now. You will never regret not learning about it. Oh, Brett is here. So let's see. We're going to go back a second. Brett, do you want to unmute yourself? They didn't see you there. Thanks. Hi, Brett.
Hi. I didn't want to jump in, but yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. I can't see myself, so I don't know what you're looking at. But hi, everyone. My name is Brett Kurth. I'm excited to be here and just share a little bit about my experience. And these are my new blue blocker glasses. So if anyone knows me, I didn't get glasses. But yeah, so a little bit about my experience with going through the practice cohort with Jayne. It was an amazing experience. I am also in finance. I'm not an advisor, but I learned a ton about, as my work computer is buzzing at me. But yeah, so I just learned a ton going through the whole class about my kind of understanding of finances. And I had a bunch of conversations with my husband after going through this practice cohort about moving forward. And, now we've little kids, and how do we want to plan for their financial future? What do we want to teach them? And also looking as our parents get older, what conversations have we not had that we should start having? Even though we are reasonably younger, it's good just to start thinking about those things. So these are all conversations that, being in finance, I tell my clients to talk to their family about, but I guess I hadn't even really thought about how do I go about starting those kind of uncomfortable conversations. And Jayne really helped, walk through, how do you start those conversations? What are important things that you need to be discussing with your family, now for the future? And it's such an amazing experience because I know kind of with COVID, it's a little bit different, but being able to share that experience with all these other women who are going through the same booklet with you, and they get to answer all the same questions. It's an amazing experience that I think everyone should sign up for if you haven't already, because it's just super empowering, and you leave feeling confident that you have a group of other women who've gone through the same class with you, and they're kind of holding you accountable. And that right there is enough to make you want to answer, you know, questions about your own financial experience and kind of go on that journey with other women. So I strongly encourage everyone to take the class if you haven't.
Thank you, Brett. Great to see you.
Yeah.
And I think Lynn Maskey, I think I saw Lynn jump on as well. If you can unmute yourself, Lynn.
Awesome.
Nope. Maybe not. All right, we'll keep going here. So anyway, so Financial Wellness for Women is a 6-week challenge. So pre-COVID, I was doing all of this in person. So you've heard from some of the people who were in person. And a big part of the magic is the women coming together, as you heard. I mean, it's getting to share your stories and ask the questions. I'm such a believer in when you hear a story, when you come across a situation, you know, a year from now, 5 years from now, that's similar, you're going to remember what that woman said and what happened and how she may have dealt with it, or the recommendations that were given in the class. And that's something that you're going to remember far easier than you are, you know, whatever it is that I might be presenting that might not be quite as interesting and fun. Hopefully it is, but I think there's just something about hearing other women's stories, and that's how we learn. We're very collaborative, and that's why we get together. But one of the things we aren't talking about is money. And we need to start talking about money. We have to shine a light and focus on something if we really want to develop it. And unfortunately, we just haven't been doing that as women. So the Financial Wellness for Women is a 6-week challenge. So I've taken all of the content that I would present, just like what I presented around Pillar 1. I presented that. I took videos of me presenting that. So each week you'll get videos on the content that we're going to cover. Oops. You'll get the exercises. So for each pillar, I've created exercises that are like the My Family Tree and the roles we play. So you'll get exercises. And the reason for that is really getting you to think about the topic before you come into the conversation. And I just found that was so valuable because now you've already thought about it a little bit, so you aren't coming in cold. And so it just really helps when it comes time to share and to talk about it. And so the more times you can cover the similar topic, the more you're going to remember it. And then there's templates for certain components like the treasurer's promises and fund, the net worth. And so there's, you know, times that we'll be able to, I'll provide the templates so you can fill it out. Now, we never share any of the information that you might compile about your personal financial situation. None of that is ever shared with the group. That's really yours. And we really talk about things in kind of, you know, a bigger picture at a you know, a higher level. But if you've gone through and done the work, it's just going to be that much more meaningful. And then we'll have weekly live Zoom classes during the 6 weeks. And I've got 2 different options of times, 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. So you can choose what would work best for you. And, you know, again, to me, a big part of doing this is getting to have the conversation with the women. You know, I've had a mother and daughter go through it. I've had a woman and her daughter-in-law go through it together. I've had sisters. So doing it with friends is wonderful. You can then continue the conversation long after the course is done. Now, I've had other women say, no, this is very personal to me and I don't want to have any of my friends in the class. And that's great too. But, you know, I would just encourage you to consider maybe doing it with friends. So the 6-week challenge is $9.97. And again, it includes the videos, exercises, templates, and weekly Zoom sessions. And then there's some bonuses. So we've put together some fun bonuses. There's a glossary of terms, and it's, you know, it was one of the last things that I put together before I went live with the first group. And I was just amazed at how much they loved it. They said they just really enjoyed being able to have that at their fingertips as we were talking about different terms or they were doing some of the exercises, to be able to quickly refer back to, well, what is a bull market again? Or what, what does asset allocation mean? Or what's passive investing? So they love being able to refer back to the glossary. And then each week there'll be an expert interview. And I've got so much fun lined up there. So there'll be an estate planning attorney. We have a salary negotiation expert. We have a clinical psychologist who will talk about values. So each week there will be some really fun, extra, just short 15, 20 minutes, extra little clips for you to watch. And as a bonus, we're going to have a reunion session. So 4 to 8 weeks after the challenge concludes, we'll come back together, just like I've been sharing with you some of the stories that came up as the women came back together. And again, it holds you accountable. So I'm not doing it, part of it's self-serving because I really love to hear the stories and how everybody has done. So part of it is self-serving because I just want to hear. But it's also to hold you accountable, as you heard, I think it was JC say, you are held accountable because you know you're coming back together. So you want to keep it top of mind. And so again, it's the videos, exercises, the templates, and the live weekly Zoom sessions, along with the bonuses, the glossary of terms, the expert interviews, and the reunion session. And so one last story here. So Janet went through the class, and Janet's husband had passed away about 10 years ago. And she said, Jayne, she said, I have put my head in the sand for the last 10 years. She said, I did not want to take responsibility for my financial situation. I let my son take it on. I just really didn't want to deal with it. And she said, but now, she said, after learning more and understanding my financial situation better, she said, my financial stress has been dramatically reduced. So again, I think there's just so many wonderful outcomes of learning more about your financial situation. And I hope you'll join me for the 6-week challenge. So let's see. Lynn Maskey, are you?
Yeah, I finally figured out it's not a touch screen.
All right, Lynn, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Jayne, thanks for asking me to just share a few words about your program. Jayne and I worked together, and I wasn't quite sure exactly what I could learn from this 6-week session, but I'm a firm believer that all women need to understand their financial situation, and they need to be able to put together an understanding. We all need to empower ourselves. We should not pass that piece off of it, because really, for total happiness, you have to have financial security, and you need to understand it. And so the 6 weeks that, the 6 sessions that we did with Jayne and with the cohorts, obviously, you've heard Brett talk already about just the collaboration among the women. That's really, really important. I also was really impressed with the program that Jayne put together and how easily it was to understand. So, you can really start with zero knowledge and get the building blocks. Each pillar that she presents is a building block to get you to a point where you do feel that sense of security and courage to go forward. We've all been dealing with this COVID thing and being at home, and as I look back over the last year and kind of go like, okay, what have I done for myself? Can't go and get my nails done, can't go get a massage, I maybe take a walk with a girlfriend, but we're not gathering, doing all of that stuff. I just really think that this 6-week challenge starting at October 1st would be a perfect way for you to give a gift to yourself and ultimately for all the people that you love. Because when you feel strong and confident in your own financial security, you're going to pass it down. I have 3 daughters. I have a daughter-in-law. I have 10 granddaughters. And all of that is really, really important for me to pass down to them too. So Jayne, thanks for putting this program together. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to, build your knowledge and have fun along the way. So thanks for asking me to talk, Jayne.
Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate you sharing. So that kind of wraps things up. Like I said, you'll get the 3-step guide to shifting your money mindset. That'll come out right away. And then there'll be a bonus financial wellness quiz. And I'd love to, if anybody has questions or any additional comments, would love to hear from anybody. We've got a few minutes left before we hit the top of the hour. No?
Hey, Jayne.
Yes. Hi, Catherine.
Hi. Okay, so I have to jump off to actually lead a webinar in 10 minutes, but I want to chip in with something, just a little something. My money values and beliefs that I grew up with, my fear, my thinking rich people were greedy, my guilt around asking for more money, then when I started making more money, it really held me back in my career. And I am a career coach, and I've helped over 100,000 people during their career. And I see women struggle around money. Studies show they negotiate 3 times less than men do. They are 3 times less effective than men at negotiating higher paychecks, higher salaries, and for business owners, negotiating those higher rates. So I loved your story earlier about a business owner who said, oh my gosh, I haven't raised my rates in 12 years. So I just want to really underscore and celebrate your message around how our baggage from our childhood and the stories we heard and the stories we tell ourselves hold us back, not just in money management, but they hold us back in our ability to earn what we're worth and capture the life that we want. And so anyway, I just wanted to chip in with that.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody. Jayne's awesome, in case you haven't figured that out by now.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions or anything that can answer about the program? You'll receive links to the program. So you can, and please feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email, Jayne at Elegant Wealth, and Elegant has 2 L's like my last name. So Elegant Wealth, or at the bottom of each page of the website, there's a Let's Connect, and you can shoot me an email that way as well. So whatever works better for you, but would really love to answer any questions that you might have or anything that's come up as we've been walking through all of this. So if there's no other questions, we will just end here, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Really appreciate it.